Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be looking at an introduction to the React library. Now, the first thing you need to do is make sure that you have Node installed on your computer. If you haven't installed Node, you can go to our Getting Started with JavaScript video, which I'll be putting in the description below, and you can follow the steps there to download Node, and you can come back to this video. The easiest way to get started with React is using the Vite tool. The reason we chose Vite for this course is because of its fast development servers and its instant project setup. Now we're going to create our first React application. The editor we'll be using throughout this course is going to be VS Code, but you can choose an editor of your choice. So let's go ahead and create a new folder. And we're going to call it Introduction to React. And once we've created our folder, we're going to open our terminal. Now the shortcut to open a terminal in VS Code is Ctrl-Shift backtick. So we're going to open our terminal. And the next thing we need to do is we need to navigate to the folder we just created. So we're going to use the cd command. And we're going to go to Introduction to React. Now in here, we're going to run a series of commands to create our application. The first command we're going to run is npm create vite at latest. Then we're going to give the name of our application. In this case, we're going to call it part 1. Then we're going to have 4 hyphens. Then we're going to have template. Then we're going to have React. So let's break down this command. npm is our package manager. The create command is used to generate a new project using a certain template. Vite at latest signifies that we want to use the latest version of Vite. Part 1, as I said, is going to be the name of our project. And we use the hyphens to separate the npm specific commands and the Vite specific commands. And once we've done that, we're going to press enter. Now we've created our application, so we're going to navigate to it. Again, we're going to use the cd command, and we called our application part 1. And once we are in here, we're going to run another command, which is npm install. What this command does is it's going to install all the dependencies of our project. So this is going to take some time, so we're going to wait till it finishes. Once the command finishes, we're going to go to our application. So our main code is going to be located in the source folder. And in here, we're going to be focusing on 2 files, so we can delete the rest. So we can delete the assets folder. We can delete app.css. We can delete index.css. So the 2 files we're going to be focusing on are the app and the main file. Now by default, these are going to have some code, but we're going to clear them out and start from scratch. So we're going to clear out the main file and we're going to clear out the app file. In our app file, we need to create and export a React component. So a React component is a self-contained, reusable piece of code. And the syntax is very similar to creating an arrow function in JavaScript. So in this case, we're going to create a component called app. So the syntax is as follows. We're going to have the const keyword. Then we're going to have the name of our component, which is going to be app. Then we're going to have empty parentheses. This is because our component is not going to take any input. Then we're going to have our arrow. And here we're going to return a block of code. So we're going to display hello world to our browser. So we're going to return an h1 tag that says hello, world. And once we've created our component, we need to export it. And to export it, we're going to use the following line, which is export default. Then we're going to put in our component name. Here, default is not required, but it signifies that app is going to be the root of our application. And now we're going to go to our main.jsx file. In here, we want to import our app component and we're going to render it to our browser. So we're going to import app from app. We also need to import React DOM, which is used to manipulate our DOM, which is a tree-like structure of our HTML. So we're going to import React DOM and we're going to import it from React DOM/client. Now we've imported all we need, so we're going to render it to the screen. So we're going to use React DOM. Now we're going to use the createRoot function, which is going to render a tree. And in here, we're going to pass document.getElement by ID, and the ID is going to be root. So in most React applications, there is going to be a root HTML element where the entire React component is mounted. So using this statement, we're going to target that component. And finally, we're going to use the render function and we're going to pass it the component we want to render, which is the app component. So we're going to have angle brackets, and in between we're going to have the name of our component, which is app. Now we can save our file, and again we're going to open the terminal, and in here we're going to run a command to actually start our application, which is npm run dev. As you can see, we got an error that says missing script. That is because we haven't navigated to where our application is located. So we're going to use the cd command to go into Introduction to React and again into part 1. Now we can run the npm run dev command and we get the following link, which is where our application has started. As you can see, it started on port number 5173. So by default, it's going to go to that port number unless this port number is unavailable. In that case, it's going to go to the next available port number. Now we can follow this link to our browser. As you can see, we get hello, world displayed in the browser. One thing you should always do is have the developer console open, since that is the only way we can debug our code. So we're going to open it using the shortcut Ctrl+Shift+I. And if we had errors, we could see it in the console tab. Now we can also return multiple statements from our component, but one thing we need to remember is if we have multiple components to return, we need to wrap them in something like a container. So in this case, we're going to wrap it with a div tag. So we're going to have a div. And in here, we're going to have an h1 tag that says hello. And we're going to have a p tag that says world. And now if we save our file and go to the browser, we see that we get multiple statements rendered to our browser. Now, since it's very common to return multiple statements, we can actually omit the div word from the angle brackets and it would work the same. The code we are returning from our component might look like HTML, but in reality, it's actually a language called JSX. JSX might look like HTML, but it's actually a way of writing JavaScript code. Now we can also have multiple components in our application. So now let's move the hello world heading into its own component. So we're going to use the same syntax. We're going to have const and we're going to call the component hello. It's going to take no input and it's simply going to return an h1 tag that says hello, world. Now to use this component in our application, we're going to return it from our app component. And to use a component, the syntax is an angle bracket. Then we're going to have the name of the component we want to use, which in this case is hello. Then we're going to have a slash and another angled bracket. Now if we save our file and go back to the browser, we see that hello, world is displayed in the browser. We can also use the component we created multiple times, but as we said before, if we have multiple statements to return, we need a container. So again, we're going to use the div container. And in here, we're going to have multiple hello components. Now, if we save our file and go to the browser, we see that we get hello, world multiple times. Our components can also take input. So we're going to pass in input to our component using props. So in the parentheses, we're going to write props. And in our return statement, we're going to use this as input. So we're going to have hello space, then we're going to have a name. So to use that, we're going to have the following syntax. We're going to have curly braces, and inside the curly braces, we're going to have props.name. So you can think of props just like an object. So we're accessing the object's name attribute. So to actually give it a name, we're going to go to our app component and we're going to have name equals to, then we're going to pass in the name we want to give. So let's just give John. And we're going to give the second one Smith. And we can remove the third hello call. Now we can save our file and we're going to go to our browser. As you can see, we get hello John and hello Smith. So this has been an introduction to React. Thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel to show your support.